Hey you, watching this video, spread love.
Bienvenidos and welcome back, familia. I am Leonardo Torres, and this is my good friend Mustachio, and we'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Tower of Torres, the podcast that is spreading love all over the world, interviewing musicians, artists of all types. We're going to start getting some pastors in here to have a little chat with them. And on today's episode, we have an artist that I came across on Facebook. I love the sound so much that I invited him to talk to us on the show. But before we get to the interview, I want to show you a piece of his music so you can see what I'm talking about. If you're ready, grab your headphones and let's go. All right, this is Nick Anderson with a song called Run. I've heard this already, but I want to share it with you all. It's pretty awesome. This piece here reminds me of Spiders from System of a Down. I thought it was going to have that sort of System of a Down vibe to it, but then this kicked in, and I'm like, okay, what is this? And then this. Awesome. Love this little change in pattern here. Beautiful.
They say it's the time of our lives, we'll never get what we have got right now.
Love that guitar. Intensifies a little bit and then it goes back.
I've got a ways to go, I'm not gonna let a few years define. Well, I just wanna grow.
Boom! Awesome.
From the future you think is me, I won't waste my life wasting time.
If you're loving this so far, familia, let me get some hearts in the live chat. Excellent bass. Love the bass there. And then
It's not hard to think
we're
and
back.
believe. The words can take a while to see.
Love that guitar.
I know I'm not the only one.
I have to say, I love that fedora too.
Still
Too bad I can't wear a fedora with these headphones. I'd be wearing mine all day.
well, I just wanna
Bam! Love that pause.
from the future you think is me. I won't waste my life
Love how he screams this here.
wasting time. I just wanna
Bam! Ooh.
the future you think is me. I won't waste my life wasting time.
Bam! And kick. Love that delay effect on there.
Well, I just wanna
Bam! Awesome.
the future you think is me. I won't waste my life wasting time. I just wanna run.
Excellent, man. Love it.
Think is me. I won't waste my life
Bam!
wasting time.
Bam! Love this so much, man. Excellent number. Excellent piece here. Beautiful work. Beautiful work by Nick Anderson. I absolutely love this track. It's got great lyrics, a great story, excellent musical parts. I love that pause, that dramatic pause. I just wanna, bam, just beautiful piece there. And the emotion is definitely there. This is gonna be my rating, familia. Let me know what you think about this song in the live chat. Let me know now or in the comments down below. And now that we've been properly introduced to Nick Anderson, here's the conversation I had with him. Sit back and enjoy. Nick Anderson,
Hello,
Well,
it's so nice to see you.
it's good to see you, man. Welcome to the Tower of Torres.
It's so great to be on your show. I really appreciate you having me, and yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, good to have you here. I really like the sound of your band.
Hey,
Uh,
thank you.
the song "Run" is such a great song.
Yeah, it's definitely been like one of our like fan favorites, and I
Yeah,
think the music video helped with that as well, like some cool imagery and yeah.
great. Before we get into that song, can you just tell me a little bit about your background? Where are you from?
Sure. So I'm originally from Appleton, Wisconsin, and the band is from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. If you're not familiar with the state, Appleton is on the east side of the state, and Eau Claire's on the west side of the state. So I kind of moved over there, met these guys, and so we all got together in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and that's kind of where the band started and where it's based out of. And then Eau Claire is really close to the Twin Cities, so we kind of pop back and forth and have fans in both areas.
Okay. And how long have you been together?
So this band has been together for 6 years now, since 2015. Yeah, so quite a while. This band is stuck. Yeah.
So, all right. So this is for the long run.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. These guys are, I've been in a lot of bands and most of them last 4 years tops, or you get annoyed with each other. And these guys, like, it's like a marriage, man. It's like we all got on one knee and we're like, let's keep going. Yeah.
You made a commitment to each other.
Yeah.
You know what? I often say that because sometimes some people ask me like, "Why aren't you in a band anymore?" And I say, like, you know what? Being in a band is like being in a relationship with four other people, And
Yeah.
and we're talking dudes, so right?
Yeah, it's
So
exactly like a relationship. Like there's all the same stuff from a relationship, except for like multiply it times a couple of more people. Like
except
it's
maybe your band members don't get jealous if you listen to other bands, huh?
true.
That's awesome, man. How long have you been playing? Your main instrument is guitar, right?
Yeah, so my main instrument is guitar, and then I sing in the band as well. I've been playing guitar since I was 12, and then I like really quickly after that, when I was 15, that's when I really started pushing for like, I want to do music for the rest of my life. Like a couple of years of playing guitar, and then I had a couple gigs and I was hooked, man. Like I was like, I got to do this. Like
Yeah.
this is my jam.
You found your groove, huh? Pun
Yeah.
intended.
Yeah, which I was lucky. Like I feel really blessed that I found that passion at 15. Like that's pretty cool to know exactly what you want to do at 15, and I've stuck with it.
Yeah, that's great. And what was it? What was it? What did it for you? What exactly was it that made you say this is it?
Yeah, a couple things. So I didn't really feel like I found kind of where I belonged until I played my first gig. And I just remember like standing up there with a couple of my friends and seeing all of my peers like having fun, and all my friends around me were having fun. And it was like, man, this thing that I'm a part of, everyone is smiling, everyone's having a good time. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, and just bringing that enjoyment all around and then having that camaraderie with those guys around me. I was hooked.
It is exhilarating to be on stage like that. I remember the first song that I've ever played in front of a group of people. I was 15. I don't know. I was 16 in high school. I tried out for our stage band, and I tried out with Carlos Santana, Oye, ¿Cómo va? And I did that guitar solo. My band director loved it so much. He's like, all right, well, you're a new guitarist, and we're going to perform for Cinco de Mayo. You're going to play that song in front of the whole school. And I was like, yeah, I'm excited. I'm
That's
awesome. This is my thing, right? I get up, right? Well, actually, I was meant to play it sitting down. And then as soon as my solo was arriving, my band director goes, Leo, get up. I stood up, and everyone, all of my friends just lost it, right? They were all cheering. And then suddenly, I started to shake. Yeah, and my solo was, oh man, it was terrible. Like, well, I think it was terrible. Nobody recorded it, thankfully. But yeah, it was so nerve-wracking. Do you get stage fright like that sometimes?
I used to get it so bad, and I get it at times now. It's hilarious that you told that story. So the first time that I ever performed, I was explaining how everyone was so happy and stuff.
Yeah.
The girl that I liked, after my first show, she came up to me, and I was all excited, because I was like, oh, she just saw me do something super cool. Like, she came up to me, and she just looked at me, and she said, you should never sing in front of people again. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
Like,
stabbed in the back just now.
I know. I was like, oh, that hurts. But I don't know
Wow.
what, for whatever reason, I was like, whatever. You don't know what
Yeah.
you're talking about. And I kept going. Which she probably did. It was my first show. It's not like I was fantastic. So
Right.
that's yeah. So I feel your story hard.
Oh man, no, that's much harder, man. I'm sorry. She just stabbed you right in the heart and then twisted the
She
knife.
did. She did. It's okay though. It's
Well,
those sixth grade relationships. They don't last long, anyways.
that's right. That's right. Oh man, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah.
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 Well, now I don't feel so bad about my story.
Good. Good.
So tell me about is music like in your family, or how did you pick up a guitar for the first time?
Yeah, so the first time I picked up a guitar was actually because of my dad. So my dad played guitar when I was growing up, and he was in a band in college. And I just remember, like, while I was growing up, every once in a while, my dad would pick up a guitar and just play some blues. My dad is super into blues, and he would always just play these same blues riffs. And I remember we'd sit on the couch, and he'd play that blues riff, and he'd be like, "Let's just sing along to it, whatever you got, whatever it sounds, or like
Whatever
a little
comes
bit of lyrics or whatever comes to mind. Let's sing through it." Like, and I just remember that being really cool. So as the years went on and he kept, playing around the house and stuff, I was like, man, I want to start to play and have some fun with that. And so he started teaching me a few things here and there. And that's kind of what really got me into it at the beginning. It was just my dad bringing that in. And so parts of my family are musical. And then my uncle actually, have you heard of the band Kansas, like Carry On Wayward Son?
Yeah.
And so my uncle is the founding member and the drummer of Kansas.
Really?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
So that's super cool. So there's a few people here and there sprinkled in the family with music, and
that's cool.
Yeah.
Did it start in that generation, or was it in the previous generation too?
Previous generation too. So I can't remember if it's my great uncle, must have been great uncle, was in the Milwaukee Symphony with violin. So same thing, like not everyone in the family, because there's definitely some people who are definitely not music people in the family, but like it seems to sprinkle itself here and there.
Okay, so let me ask you, if you didn't have music in your life, like what do you think you'd be doing right now?
Oh man, I don't know, man. That's a hard question.
Do you have any other hobbies? Anything else you like?
I love outdoor stuff. I love nature walks, and I love kayaking and things like that.
Yeah.
So maybe I'd be like a, adventure kayaker or something, but like, I don't know.
That's good. Like
I say that and I'm like, that sounds kind of dangerous though.
Yeah,
who knows?
Yeah, but you know what? That's the musician inside of you speaking, because sometimes I want to go out and like maybe like play soccer, and then I think, but if I hit my hand wrong or something, or if I twist a finger and I won't be able to play, I'm like, nope, forget it, because everything I do is with my hands, editing and everything.
You're totally right. You're totally right.
So like, nope,
even when I'm cutting vegetables, I'm thinking that. Like, I'm like, ooh, this could put me out of work for a little bit if I cut my finger wrong.
Yeah, the other day I cut myself and I cut one finger, and I thought that's gonna hurt when I play that C.
Yeah.
And it did. So I had to lay low for a little bit.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Talk to me about this name, Nick Anderson and the Skinny Lovers. Why Skinny Lovers? Where did that come from?
Sure. So the band is from Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and one of the biggest artists to make it out of Eau Claire was Bon Iver. A guy named Justin Vernon, and his big song that came out of this small town was Skinny Love. So I really locked onto this idea, like, I'm not in LA, I'm not in Chicago, I'm not in these big music cities, and here's a guy that still made it. So I really liked that idea, like small town guy with the internet and everything, like here's a guy that made it even with where he's at. So I locked onto that, and I was like, I really like that guy making it. And I was like, Skinny Love, that's there's something there. Yeah. And then my bassist and I are really into craft beer. And he was like, oh, like Skinny Love, we could be like the Skinny Livers because we like beer. And I was like, I don't know about that, man. I was like, Skinny Lovers, though, that could be something. So
Yeah.
that's how
Okay.
it kind of came to be.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's great.
Plus, the guys in the band, so like my bassist, he's 6'2", and I swear he weighs like $110. So like, we just got like these super skinny dudes. We all love music, and it just kind of it seemed like the perfect name.
That's great. What were some of your inspiration growing up? Because you talked about your dad liking blues, and what inspired you? Like, what are some of your inspirations for writing music?
Yeah. So my biggest inspiration starting out, kind of beyond like when I was just going with some of the stuff that my dad was showing me and things like that, what really launched me forward into wanting to do music was actually Green Day.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I heard the album American Idiot, I started hearing some of the songs off that album.
Yeah.
Not sure what it was about that album, but I was just like, wow, this makes me feel cool.
Yeah.
So I started learning all the songs off of that album. And nerdy as it is, I asked my parents, since the songs have swear words, I was like, is it okay if I listen to this? I promise I won't say the swear words. And they were like, sure. And now looking back, I'm like, why did I ask? But it worked out for me.
Yeah. Out of respect, I guess, for your parents.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's great, man. Yeah, Green Day, man, that was big growing up for me too. Nirvana, Green Day, Soundgarden, but in high school, Incubus was a big influence for me. Yeah, for that. That's great. And when you write a song like Run, how do you approach songwriting? Do you typically write the lyrics first, then add the music, or add music and write lyrics, or what's your method?
So it kind of goes, it's kind of all over the place, to be honest, but typically what'll happen is I will be just messing around on guitar, and all of a sudden something will just hit. That's just right. Sometimes I make a mistake when I'm playing something. Sometimes I'm just noodling around, and then all of a sudden I hear a chord progression come out. Yeah. And then I'm like, ooh, there's something here. Mm-hmm. And then I'll grab a notebook and I'll just play that chord progression and see what comes out. I'll just start singing, whether it's a melody or words or, it can be anything. A lot of times it's just random words. Mm-hmm. And then the same thing will happen with the words. All of a sudden some word will come out and I'll catch on to it, write it down, and then an idea starts to take. And I think it's a lot of subconscious stuff. Like I'm always thinking of all kinds of different things just broadly. Yeah. And I think when that happens, it's when all of those thoughts finally come together and help me kind of figure out what's going on in my life. Yeah. And that's when it kind of starts to come out and, envelop in a song. And basically there's a movie called Finding Forrester. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
No.
The movie is about this author that wrote one amazing book. And he talks about, like, first time, just let the words flow. Just let them all come out. Just put them down. Then later, come back and look at them. And that's where you can edit. And that's kind of what I do with songwriting. Like, I just let everything pour out. And then I'll go back, look at it, edit, and make sure it's actually good, or change it so that I have that same idea, but it's still, good and not just babbling on it, things like that. Yeah. So,
that's interesting. It seems to be the theme of the week for me, because just a few days ago, I came across this video where this guy was talking about writing, just writing, not writing music or anything, just writing like a thesis or anything, practically writing anything. And he was mentioning that it's important that you just write. You don't edit. You just write everything, all your thoughts out, because if you try to write something perfect, you're more likely to get stuck in the beginning. So write all the way through, all the way to the end, give it a break, and then come right back around and then review it and then start to tweak. He says maybe 70% of it will change, but at least you'll save a lot of time, editing as you go along. And as I'm listening to how you're saying that you approach a song, it almost sounds to me like you're letting like the song I don't know, practically write itself, or like it's like you're picking it up from I don't know, like Wi-Fi from the ether.
Yeah, and a lot of people say that in interviews. Like Tom Petty will talk about that. Like it all of a sudden feels like I would say the best songs I've written feel like that, where all of a sudden it's like, whoa. And then it really does feel like it's coming from somewhere else, and that you have like, a couple minutes to write it all down quick.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you get that feeling, like it's like your hands can't write fast enough. And
Yeah.
those are the best songs I've written, where it just is all of a sudden like, whoa, whoa. And yeah, so it's exactly that feeling. Like sometimes it feels like it comes from somewhere else. And that being said, I feel like there's a lot of people who want to write songs, and when you say that, it's like, well, that doesn't help me write a song.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's also, just me sitting down and writing a song, thinking about what I'm thinking about, or letting inspiration strike, by just sitting and thinking, or by taking a walk, and then you see something that helps that inspiration. So I think there's things that can, even if you don't have that feeling, you can still write a song, and there's ways to also make that feeling come to you.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start this podcast to begin with, is because I found myself saying this so many times, and I'm not sure if it's ever happened to you. You hear someone write a beautiful song. Like I find myself saying this mostly with like John Mayer, like something simple like Gravity, and then I just sometimes I say to myself, I wish I had a machine or a hat or something that I could put on someone and just see music from their perspective, like that it'll show me how they're seeing music, how they're feeling it, how they're interpreting it. And I want to have these types of conversations with songwriters to show people who are potentially wanting to become songwriters, to see that there are many methods of approaching a song. Some of them are going to be really close to each other, but some of them might just be completely, just a new idea, and they might pick up on that and try it. Like, for example, when I was younger, when I first started wanting to write music for a band that I had, I would just lay down on my bed and just strum whatever chord came, and then suddenly I'd hit a chord, just like you said, hit a chord, and I'm like, I like that chord, and then I like this rhythm, and then suddenly I went on to a different chord, I got a little vibe to it, and then I just started humming a random melody, and then when I found the melody that I wanted, I just repeated that over and over and over again, and then I started adding just they weren't really words, they were just like little phrases here and there, and then eventually a word felt right for that melody, and then before you know it, I'd hit something that is like just sounded really I don't know, really passionate, very on a profound. And so there's that method, and so I'm interested in seeing how other people write. It's definitely interesting. Well, that brings me to the other question, because you said some of it is subconsciously, and sometimes it feels like, okay, something else is writing the song. Are you spiritual at all?
So I guess, how do you define spiritual?
Are you, well, I don't like to say, are you religious? Do you practice?
So I would say I'm religious. I practice Christianity.
Okay.
And so I believe in God, and I pray, and I also, maybe this doesn't go with Christianity, but I also just believe in energy of things, and that there's a lot of things people talk about, manifestation and things like that. I believe a lot of things like that. Like you can, if you work hard and you believe in things, and you go towards that in your life, things get drawn to you. I believe that. And,
yeah, actually, I had that same, I was in that same vibe. I use the word vibe still because of the whole.
No, I'm the same way.
Energy. But you know what? Even in Christianity, I've come across, because I started my channel as a non-Christian musician looking at Christian music, and I've learned so much, since, including that there is something to what we call, energy coming in or energy attracting. We hear things like the law of attraction, and some people go, whoa, the law of attraction, but really there is something about how when you align with the greater power or God, you align with him. It seems like he puts in front of you the thing that is meant for you. It's the thing that is right for you. And there's something about that connection, but I was just curious about that.
And I think that, I mean, this is kind of delving off, but I think that, like, when people talk about like energy and vibes and stuff, to me, that's just a different way of saying God. Like, cause there's been times where I'm like, it's like, I don't know if I believe in God, but I still believe in energy. And then I was like, well, what if they're the same thing? Like, so
that's exactly what I've come across in my journey here, is that the thing that I used to call energy, or the thing that I used to call, good vibes or karma, is is exactly the same thing as what other people consider the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And I'm completely fine with that, you know?
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so in going back to the song Run,
Yeah.
what is this song about?
So this song to me is about people telling me that I was past certain parts of my life. So I start out the song talking about basically people were saying like college is going to be the best time of your life, like 18 to 22. That's going to be the best time, and the rest of your life's going to suck. I feel like I heard a bunch of people say that, and I was kind of mad at that. I was like, yeah, these years are great, but this isn't going to define my entire life. I'm not going to let these 4 years. I'm not going to be one of those guys that's like, yeah, like college, those were the days. Everything else, like, you know, I didn't want to be that guy that just was stuck in those 4 years. I want to enjoy my entire life because 4 years is nothing. So the song is about running from other people's view of life and of just getting stuck in these were the happy times back here. Like it's always back here. That's where the happy times were. So it's running from that idea. And I think most people took the song as me running from a relationship, which is funny. And I think that's why it ended up being a successful song, is because the way it was written, people are taking it in many different ways, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But that's what it is to me.
Okay, that's great. Isn't that interesting how people take whatever they perceive the song, they just take from it. It's nothing to do with how you wrote it or what you wrote about, but they just take from it whatever they bring to the table, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's great.
There's an artist that I review on the channel. His name is Corey Asbury. I'm not sure if you're familiar with his music, but he wrote a song called "Reckless Love," right? And it got a lot of, it got great reviews, and at the same time some people were like, no, God's love isn't reckless, you shouldn't say things like that. But he was talking, I remember seeing him on Instagram Live, and he was talking about how he doesn't like to say what he wrote a song or what a song is about, because he likes people to bring their own interpretation to it.
Sure.
Do you find that you have songs that maybe like this one, like Run, that meant one thing but people just picked out something completely different from it?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say every single song I write, people pick up something different from someone along the line. And I used to be like that too, where I'd be like, I don't want to talk about what the song is about, because it does kind of change. Like if someone hears a song for the first time without any explanation, they're going to hear it way different than someone who's listening to this now and knows what the song is about. Yeah. You just like, it's got to be different in your head when you listen. But that being said, I also think people really connect to the true story behind the song, and then they can start to feel what I felt as I was writing it. And I think it's important to have both ways. So I don't know what the right answer is there, but I do think that it's cool and fun to share these stories, because it does help people connect, and hopefully that energy or whatever it is will deliver the song in the best way for that person.
For that person, right. That's
but
great.
Either way, like, yeah, ton of songs get changed in however people hear them, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Everybody brings their own thing to the table.
Yeah.
What sort of challenges do you face, like, as an artist, especially now considering like COVID and not being able to gig as much? But what sort of challenges do you face as an artist?
So the challenges I'm facing this year is honestly just monetary. So this year, so I went full-time as a musician a year before COVID hit. And so the band was just starting to be at a place where I didn't need a job anymore, and I could just devote full-time to it. And I don't mean I was making good money. I mean, I was making enough money to pay my rent and my bills. So then when COVID hit, we finally had festivals scheduled. We finally had, an upward trajectory, and then all of that got canceled. So this year it was, okay, my entire music business was based around live shows, because that's where I saw money to keep us going. And now I have to figure out what can we be based on now. So my entire business has changed to online content, and honestly, we're putting out a lot of content. My biggest struggle is how to make money from it without being the guy that's like, I want some money. Like,
Yeah, so that's a little challenging.
yeah. So my biggest struggle is like, how do you monetize art so that you can keep doing it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, thankfully there are things like Patreon, right, where people
Yeah.
who love the music and are for your message can become supporters even in the smallest way, right?
Yeah. And we actually, so 3 days ago, we just started a Patreon.
Yeah,
So,
that's great.
um, so yeah, I'm hoping that that'll be a way that people can support us and I can, keep putting content out with the band and doing
Yeah.
that.
I saw that on your YouTube channel, you were doing these 60-second like positive messages, or
Yeah.
can you tell me about that?
Sure. So, a couple years ago, I got this book from my aunt that had all of these quotes from musicians,
Oh,
and I was trying to, as I was reading them, they were making me feel really good about the music business and like kind of pushing me to keep going. Like even on like I would read it a lot on the days where I was like, I want to quit, like this is too hard, or so I'd read that book and it would kind of motivate me. And I thought, well, I should share some of these quotes and kind of give my take on them and do these videos that are like motivation from a musician
for musicians.
that'll help for musicians. Yeah. So like it
Yeah.
would help musicians keep going. But also I started realizing after I was watching them back, I was like, wow, this could be for anybody.
Yeah.
So it was just my kind of way of spreading positivity and doing it in a really quick way so that people could be like, okay, when I wake up in the morning, I don't have time for a long thing. So I was like, I'll just do a minute. I'll keep every single one to a minute. And that way people can wake up, watch it quick, and start their day on a positive note.
That's awesome. Well, and why is that important to you?
Why is it important to like start people on a positive
Yeah.
note? Or
Where does that come from?
yeah, so when I started music and we kind of talked about this, like I really liked everybody smiling and how I was able to have all these camaraderie moments with people around me and people in the audience. And that grew even stronger for me in high school. So when I was about 17, I had a really rough year. And I was actually kind of this, a lot of people tell a story like this. But so I was suicidal for a little bit in high school and really didn't know what was going on in my head. And music came on for me at that moment that really spoke to me and showed me like, you're not alone in this. And it kind of gave me the power to go to my parents and say like, I need some help. Because I knew like, I'm not alone in this, I'm not crazy. Like I just need some help. So I went to my parents, got some help. And then I ended up getting diagnosed with a mental disorder, got some medicine, took a lot of therapy, took some years working on myself and the things that were going on in my brain. And it all started from that music that gave me that push and told me, you're not alone, you can do this. And, from the beginning to that huge moment there until now, music has always been like just such a powerful force to make change in personal lives, in groups of people's lives. So music's just always been super powerful. And I wanted to continue that mission of, it helped me in this way. I want to continue helping other people in this way as well.
Mhm. That's great, man. And I find that a lot of musicians go through something like that, a moment of like
Yeah,
depression or something to that effect. I remember, I mean, I grew up in Compton, so being outside wasn't. I would play outside,
sure.
but there were a lot of things that were going on in my school that I couldn't come home and tell my mom about it because, well, one, she wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. I had to go to that
Sure.
school. Riots and gangs and gang fights and, being almost robbed, but I didn't have any money for them to rob, so thankfully I didn't face, anything too bad. But I found that locking myself up in my room, listening to music and grabbing my guitar was just such a lifesaver. It was
Yeah.
it was really, really important for me to as a form of therapy. And as we said
Hmm.
before with Cullington, we're not saying that this replaces traditional therapy.
Right.
If you need help, definitely go and get the help that you need. But was there a moment in your youth and when you were 17 and you were going through this depression, was there a moment that was just so heavy for you that caused you to want to seek help? Like what was?
Yeah. So I had been struggling for months, and then there was one moment where I literally remember sitting in the basement and it being the worst moment of all of this depression. It felt like all of it was coming in at once. I felt super alone because I had talked to a few friends. I had talked to one friend and told him I was feeling pretty down, and but I felt like he didn't really get it. And there was just this moment in the basement where it just all seemed to come together, and it was the most down I had been, and I was like, I'm gonna, just end it tonight. And I was just sitting there bawling and listening to music, and then all of a sudden, the moment that you're talking about, this song came on, and the guy in the song, all those feelings that I just said, he said in lyrics in the song. He was like, I'm alone. No one's understanding what I'm going through. I feel like I'm going crazy. Like, it was all these things in the song. And I was like, oh, like someone else feels like that. So for me, it was the moment when I was like, I'm not alone in this. So there must be a way out, I guess. So yeah, it was just knowing that someone else felt the same way I did. That was the big moment that pushed me to like, I can get out of this. Let's go get some help.
Yeah. I started noticing a pattern myself too, where if I had a tough day at school, I knew that I can get home and play a specific song, and I knew that song was just going to make me flush it all out.
Yeah.
And then I was going to feel better at the end of it, right? Was that song for you?
So I wish I knew what song it was. So it was on Pandora, and it was just shuffling. And honestly, as soon as that song was done, I just like took my headphones out, cried a little bit more, went upstairs, sat down to dinner, and asked my parents if we could get me some help. Like, I don't remember what the song was, but there was definitely songs that I would listen to on days that I was having issues, just like you're saying, that would just hit, just right. But I didn't have a specific song. I'm kind of jealous that you did.
Yeah, talk to me about that. Like, you sat at the dinner table with your family, with your parents.
Yeah.
That's got to be really tough to open up and say, I need help. A lot of people that I know personally who speak to me about issues that they're going through, they say that that's the hardest part, because they're not exactly sure how their parents are going to respond or how the person's going to respond. You said you went to a friend, they didn't really understand what you were going through. What did you have to do internally to get to that point? I mean, to build up the courage or to say that, like, I need help.
Sure. So when I sat down that night, I just remember I was super quiet at the dinner table. It's not like I like rushed upstairs and I was like, I need help.
Yeah. Right. If you did that, you probably wouldn't need help. Right. I feel great. Never mind.
So I just remember sitting down, kind of just like staring at my food. And I think I was very blessed. My parents were super open. And I mean, I feel like all parents tell you, like, you can tell me anything. And I was definitely nervous to tell my parents, but I was very blessed with very open and honest parents. But I don't think that they really knew I was going through that stuff. So I think what did it is, that night mixed with that song, sitting at the dinner table, I was quiet, just kind of staring at my food. And my parents asked, are you okay? And I think just all of those things together with my parents asking, are you okay? I just was like, no, I'm not. I'm going through something. And I remember saying that I like needed help, and like, they were like, what do you mean? And I was like professional help. Like, I needed, and at that point there was things I needed to talk about that I didn't want to talk about with them. It's not that I couldn't, I just didn't want to, or maybe, there's a lot of things going on that I didn't want them to, I didn't want to talk about it with them. Yeah. And I knew that I needed like some extra help because there was some weird stuff going on in my head that was just too much. So so I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder. And so I was stuck in loops in my head, just thinking about the same moment over and over for like 7 or 8 hours, and just stuck. And I don't mean like stuck, like I needed to flip the light switch on and off a bunch of times and stuff. I mean, like I would have interactions with people and then I'd worry about how that interaction went or what they were thinking about that interaction. Or if I needed to tell someone else about that interaction, I'd be stuck in that for like 7 or 8 hours, just replaying that 5-second interaction for hours, which would drive anyone insane.
Yeah.
So that's where I was like, something weird is going on up there. I need some help.
And during your time in therapy, was there one particular thing that really clicked for you that said, oh, like this is where I pivot from that worry and that sort of obsessiveness to now being free and clear from that?
That's a fantastic question. I've never been asked that before. And there actually was a moment. So I used to always ask myself, well, what if this, or what if that, or what if this, or what if that? And I remember my therapist said, well, what if not? And I was like, oh, like,
boom! Talk about a pattern interrupt. That's
yeah. And I don't know what it was about that sentence, but like, it was like, I was like, what if this, what if, and then he was like, what if not? And I was like, well, I never thought of that. Like,
it's so simple.
Yeah.
You know what? That's crazy. I remember when I was younger, I was writing in a journal, and I opened up a new journal and I wrote on top of it, and I said the what if syndrome. And I just wrote everything that I was what ifing about. What if, because I would wake up in the morning, man, so anxious and thought, what if I'm late to work? What if on my way I get into an accident? What if? And it's just, it goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
And it's true, man, that there's nothing like interrupting that pattern, like saying, well, what if not? What if you made it? What if you did make it? What if you had 15? What if you made it 15 minutes early?
Yeah.
What would you do? Right? Like switch it to something positive. And by no means am I saying that it's just that simple. Switch it to something positive.
Right.
There's some
that was a mixture of other tools and things as well. Like it took a while to get to that point. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So okay. We wanted to talk about music, but now we're talking about this, and I hope that's okay. But I just have to know, like, okay, so and not for myself, because I went through something similar. I didn't get the therapy. You know, it took me. I was in my early 30s when I finally admitted to myself that I suffered depression. That I was, you know, I had depression. So what advice would you give, first of all, to youngsters who may be watching this, and they may be going through something similar, but they don't have, you know, parents that are open in the way that their parents were, or they don't have like siblings or anyone that they can really trust, like in their family. What advice would you give them if they were going through something like that?
Yeah. So I guess the advice I would give, you know, if someone's not comfortable with their parents or they don't have friends and they kind of feel like they're really alone, is there's always someone who is willing to listen. It might not be someone that you have a great connection with. It might not be someone you've known for a while, but whether it's a guidance counselor at your school, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a friend of your parents, there's got to be somebody out there that you feel like you can tell. And if there isn't, that's where, so I'm not sure, but there's got to be someone. And I guess if there isn't, then go find therapy on your own. Go seek it out, and then kids will be like, "Well, I don't have any money." Tell the therapist that too, and they'll help you find, you know, resources. There's always someone.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna remind myself to add. I'm gonna look for like websites and add them in the description down below for people that too. So, because I know that there are like hotlines and stuff that you can call when
That's a very good point. Yeah.
So.
There's always someone who will listen.
And now from the parent's perspective, like maybe there's a parent who doesn't know how to ask their kids or doesn't know that their kids might be going through something. What advice would you give to a parent if a child comes up to them and says, "Mom, like, or Dad, I need professional help"? What would you think? What advice would you give them?
So the thing that was key for me when my parents, when I told my parents that I needed help, they didn't ask me questions. They just said, "Yep, we'll get it for you." And then that night, my dad researched and found a few places that he thought would work. And we didn't have a ton of money growing up or anything like that. But he like just snapped into action and found places. They didn't snap it onto me and ask like, well, why? What's this? Why do you need help? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. They just snapped into, let's get him the help. And then it was open as I was going to therapy. My parents were, saying, if there's anything that I can help with, or if you want to talk to me about it, you can. But they never specifically asked like, what did you talk about in therapy today? Or why do you need therapy? Or it was just, okay, he needs this. Let's give it to him. Because obviously a kid's not going to ask for professional help if they don't. It's not like a kid's like, you know what I think would be a fun time? Therapy. Like,
right. Now you put an emphasis on the fact that your parents didn't ask you why or didn't do that. What's important about that?
So kind of like I said, I didn't want to talk to them about it. There was certain things that I was concerned that they would think about me, or there was certain things I didn't want to tell them or them to know about. And I mean, looking back, I could have told them about all of it. But when I'm a kid, I'm like, well, I don't want my parents to know that. And I don't want them to think this about me, because I love them like too. And I worry about what they think of me. So I don't want them to think that, of these different things or whatever was going on in my head. It was, it was important that they didn't ask all those questions because I didn't want to tell them.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome, man. I mean, not you know what I mean. I'm just thinking about, I'm like you. I just think about how other people can benefit from a conversation like this, and who knows, maybe there is a young Nick, a young Leonardo out there somewhere who just doesn't know how to handle what they're going through. Thankfully, at the time when I was dealing with stuff, I didn't go to my mom. I didn't go to really anybody. I said, these are my thoughts. I should be able to figure them out. And I went on a mission to try to figure out what was going on, inside, by also observing people and then asking questions like, is this really happening, or is this what I think happened? And maybe that wasn't the healthiest, but it did get me out of it.
Yeah. I think the key is that you took some action. Like the way I went through it is not like, this is the correct way to go through depression. Like,
although that does help. Like sometimes my girlfriend is stuck in something, for example, and then I'll say to her, okay, well, if you were to take a break from feeling this way, this frustration or whatever it is, if you were to take a break and you were to hire me to do it, well, what would I need to do? Like, train me. And then she'll say, well, first you're going to think about this. And then this feeling comes. And now she's starting to go, oh, okay, I think this way. Then I feel this way. Maybe if I didn't think this way, I wouldn't feel this way. And now it makes more sense to her. It starts running, the process of helping yourself, Yeah. So, which is incredibly important. Now, one last thing, and then I'll leave this topic alone. But after therapy, like, when we run as human beings, when we run a pattern, we get stuck in a pattern, and it's very easy to fall back into that pattern. We see it with like people who deal with addiction. They can't be around people who are addicts themselves or who partake in the thing that they're addicted to, because it's a high chance of them falling right back into that pattern.
Yeah.
Is there something that you have in place, either a thought process, an exercise, or something that keeps you from falling into the old pattern?
Yeah. So there's a couple things. So first, what you mentioned, like being around other people that have that same issue, that's still really hard for me. I don't, like banish those people from my life or anything, but that is hard for me when I see those things in people. It kind of does bring some of that back. And the best thing that I do, so when I talked about like him saying, what if not, that was one of the tools that he gave me. So there's a bunch of different tools that he gave me for when these things are happening in my head. And then we are basically filling up a toolbox, and not all tools are going to work for every job.
Yeah.
So there's different tools that I use for, different things that happen. So I guess, what was your question again?
Is there a specific exercise or tool or something that you use to keep you from falling into the old pattern?
Yeah. So I would say it's a whole box of different exercises, and sometimes it takes all of them. Sometimes it is quick disappear. Sometimes, like you said, talking to my significant other really helps me sort through it. Sometimes just saying it out loud helps, saying it to friends. So there, I've developed a toolbox with the help of therapy and with the help of, people around me that helps me get through those moments. And yeah.
Do you journal?
I do.
Yeah. What's your preferred style?
Poetry.
Poetry.
So yeah. So
Okay.
my journaling is basically songwriting, but on a lot of days it's not me, it's free form. So I'm not like, I'm going to write a song. It's just, I like putting things in poetry form because it helps me wrap my head around the entire idea and feeling. So that's just me. But so yeah, I journal in poetry form, not as often as I used to, but I do. Yeah.
When you're thinking about your music and you have a melody that just comes to you, do you use technology like your phone? Do you ever record voice notes or anything like that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So like my voice notes, I've got like thousands of voice notes. It's so funny listening back. So exactly what you said, if you're in the car, like if I all of a sudden hear a melody or something, I'll open up the voice notes and just be like, bop, ba da bop, bop.
Yeah.
Like, and I'll listen back, and half of them I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. You probably changed pitch in the middle of
it. Yeah. There's even been times where like I'm in the shower and I think of something, and so I like reach my arm out of the shower to the kitchen sink and I like hit the voice notes record, and then I'm in the shower and I'm like, I was thinking about doing a melody like this, and then like
it's funny to listen to those.
Yeah.
Sometimes same thing. I'll make a note. I'll make a voice note, and then I listen to it, and I'm like, what was I thinking? Or a lyric, like write a song that talks about this thing, and then it's like, that's a really horrible idea. Yeah. Don't do that.
Absolutely. I love those ones the most, when you like tell yourself what you were thinking. You're like, so this one we're thinking about writing a song like in this style, and then you listen back and you're like, why on earth would I want to write a song in that style?
Wait, speaking of style, like where would you fit your music? Like, well, what style do you think? Because honestly, when I heard Run, I started it thinking sort of like a System of a Down in that intro. You have a nice clean distortion. Yeah, like right. And then when you got into your groove, it had more of a like a I don't know, I don't even know where to place it.
Sure.
To be honest.
So I place most of our stuff in just alternative rock.
Okay.
And that's such a wide genre now that it covers it pretty good.
Yeah.
But we tend to move fluidly through some different genres. But that being said, we always try to keep our like alternative rock is here, and then our songs are around that somewhere.
Okay. And when you're writing a song, you write your lyrics, you write your chords, and you get together with the band. How much do you participate in what the bass is going to do, and how much freedom do you give them to sort of bring their own thing into it?
Sure. So that's one of the things that this is one of the things that I think has kept this band together and makes it work so well. When they came into the band at the beginning, I said, I basically told them when they came in, I said, I'm going to have the final say on stuff. But that being said, we will always try every idea. So most of the time how it happens is I'll write a song, and then we'll come to band practice, and I might have certain bass parts in mind. And if I do, I'll teach them to him so that he knows the vibe I'm going for.
Yeah.
And then I'll let him run free. And a lot of times he comes up with stuff that's a lot better. And same with the drummer. And that's why they're awesome. But if I don't like what they come up with, then I don't even want to use the word power, but I have the final say of nope, we're not going to do that. Either go back to the drawing board, or we can use my part. And then a lot of times they'll be like, I really hate your part, man. Like I hate, and then I have to be like, okay, I'm gonna put my ego aside here. I don't like what you came up with either. Let's sit down and figure out why we don't like it, and then let's come up with something together. So even though I have the final say, a lot of people will be like, well, this guy, I wouldn't want to be in a band like that. It helps because I'm also super open to all of the ideas, and it's a rule in the band. If anyone comes up with an idea and they want to try it, we have to try it. But at the end of the day, I have the final say, which helps all of those arguments collapse at the end of the day into just a forward progress.
No, that's good. That's good. I mean, it just like anything else, it needs some form of structure where someone's doing the final editing or the final cutting or and it has to be, especially if you originally created the song, you have sort of a sound in your head that's already, it may not be complete, but it's there. You know what it was originally sounding like.
Yeah. And then if they write a song, they have that's part of the unspoken part, is that they have a little bit more say on those. I still have the final say. My name's on the front of the band, but if they wrote the song, I understand as a songwriter, like they have a bigger vested interest in what that's going to be. And that's the other part, is I think it's really important that you speak about those things. So like the fact that I have the final say, it's not something that's just unspoken. It's I've told them like that I have the final say, and they were okay with that. And it's important to have conversations like that with your bandmates or your group or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's great, man. To have some form of structure in that way.
Yeah.
Awesome. I have a very important question. This might be the most important question of today's interview, today's talk, and that is tacos or burritos?
Oh man.
Think about it, man.
If I'm in New York City, tacos from a dirty street vendor at 2 a.m.
Of course.
Like, and I mean, like, I want to see that guy rub his hands in the dirt. Like, I want him to just like run all over town. And then like, once he's run all over town, touched a bunch of stuff, then I want him to get back in the taco cart. And then that's the taco.
You want to taste New York City. It's pretty.
Yeah. But if I have to just choose for the night, like, what am I going to eat? Then I got to go burrito, because one burrito gets you as full as probably 100 tacos. So
I like how, like, in your story, it was night. Like it was, it's the middle of the night. You probably just got out of some place. You're like starving. You're hungry. Tacos and burritos.
Yeah. I definitely added the scene there, but man, there's nothing better than a street taco in New York City. Like,
I've never had a street taco from New York City, but
did you grow up in Compton?
Yeah, I'd probably ask him to wash his hands though.
Probably a good idea.
I'm like, you know what? You just touched that other thing. You just touched the cart. I don't know where that cart's been.
I'm like, is that a wheat tortilla, or is that just a lot of dirt on your hands?
And why is that piece of carne asada moving? Oh man, that's great. That's great. So, hey, listen, thanks a lot for coming on here and talking.
Thanks for having me.
Talking with me. I'm going to post. Well, I'm gonna show really quickly how people can follow you on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Nick Anderson and the Skinny Lovers. And then there's a website as well, Nick Anderson and the Skinny Lovers. What's your next project? What are you working on currently?
So right now we're working on another album of just some really cool, more acoustic based songs, is at least what we're working on right now. Just some really cool storytelling songs, trying to set some scenes and bring people places with toned down instruments and some cool stuff. So yeah, we've been working on that, and Patreon is the best place to support us with all that right now.
Awesome. So I'll post, if you can send me the links to your Patreon, I'll post them on the description down below. And for everyone just joining us, for everyone watching this today, you can turn to the descriptions down below, and I'll link up some of his songs, and I'll link up how you can follow him on his website and all the socials, and including how you can help support him on Patreon if you are digging the music. Now, for someone who's new and hasn't heard your music at all, what 3 songs would you recommend that they get started that really captures who you are as an artist? Yeah.
So first song you got to listen to is Run. That's definitely the one that like is a good introduction to us. Second song called 24. That's 24. Just about trying to find your place, trying to figure out what to do with your life. And then third song, I would say King and Queen. It's just a super fun. It makes you feel like you're sitting outside drinking a beer in the summer.
All right, excellent. Or tea or coffee.
Or a tea or a coffee or a water with ice in it. Something cold. Something cold that just gives
Also
you
the
that
cold. All right.
little refreshing.
Not refreshing. Okay, we're not sponsored by anything, so we're not going to name any brands, right? But I was thinking about like maybe one of those dark drinks that you put their ice cold. It has a red logo on it, and it's nice and cold from a bottle.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the name, but it rhymes with mocha mola.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too.
All right, man. Well, thanks a lot for coming by, man. I look forward to
Absolutely.
listening to some more of your music. We're going to review some more of your songs here on the channel. And yeah, look forward to hearing more.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, man. See ya.
See ya.
There you have it, familia. My conversation with Nick was insightful, to say the least. And I hope that something in that conversation helps you out in your journey. Remember that mental and emotional health is important too. And if you need help, there are some links in the description down below that you can go to and get the help that you need. May the eternal love and the profound peace of the Great Spirit be with you always. Remember to love your neighbor as yourself, and to continue your adventures here on this channel, click on any of the links on the screen. And as always, continue to spread love, continue to spread peace, and continue to share this music. And I'll see you on our next adventure. Journey well, travelers. Thanks.